So let's talk about the Israel-Iran war escalation, what's really going on, and more importantly, what's next. I'm not here to blather and waste your time. Don't click nothing, don't smash nothing, don't buy nothing, just listen to me. What you heard about this stuff all over mainstream media, what I've heard was complete baloney, bullshit, and I'm so tired of it that even though I didn't want to, I was asked by y'all to come here and to explain what actually is going on. So sit back, relax, I'm going to explain like you've never heard it before, okay? So first and foremost, okay, let me explain what's actually going on here. Unlike the Hassan Pikers and the Candace Owens and the Tucker Carlsons screaming, America first, America first, what Donald Trump and his administration understands, as any other administration understood about Iran, that this is not an Israeli problem, okay? And nuclear Iran is a big, big problem for America. Not because Iran is going to nuke the United States. It's not going to happen. That's not the point. But if Iran gets a nuke, that starts a sequence that's going to be destructive for the interests of the United States in the Middle East. Then the Saudis would want to nuke. The United Arab Emirates would want to nuke. Everybody in the region would want to nuke. It will create an arms race in a place that's already very, very stable. Even though I'm kidding, right? It's the most unstable place on earth. And now once they get nukes, everybody, all these crazies are going to be running around trying to get a nuke. What about the other parties of the region that would love to get a nuke? Don't forget, there's other players, some of them NATO countries that might want a nuke. I'm just saying. Also, look, there's going to be a completely stupid acceptance of this, because what you're going to do is now you have one country right now in the region which is kind of your pit bull, your enforcer. It's tiny, but it's a scorpion. You know, scorpions are tiny, but they're deadly. Talking first about the Israelis, right? So according to international press, right, the Israelis, apparently they got nukes. That's what they're saying. I don't know. I'm saying, you know, I heard they got nukes based on the articles I've read. So if that's indeed the case, and if they do have nukes, well, by allowing their arch nemesis, the Iranians, to get a nuke, you eliminate your biggest ally in the region of regional dominance. That's shooting yourself in the foot. And of course, you just gave an agent of chaos and some, I'm just going to be very careful, some asshole yahoos in Iran, you just gave them the keys to nuclear weapons. God knows how far and bad this whole thing can. It can become a very unrewarding exercise, right? Plus, you have the whole thing with Russia and China. By the way, Russia and China would also prefer that if Iran didn't have a nuke, but that's a whole different story, right? But basically, nobody wants Iran to have a nuke except Iran, right? So Trump says, look, folks, let's negotiate, right? He fully knows that that negotiation is not going to pan out. And he says, look, you got 60 days to figure this out. The Iranians thought it's going to be the same playbook as before. We're going to drag it out, et cetera, et cetera. But Trump says, look, you got 60 days. So the Iranians say, well, yeah, sure. And they said, look, I got a pit bull right here. It's my Israeli pit bull. His name is Benjamin Netanyahu. This guy's crazy. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know. And then the Iranians are like, yeah, whatever, bro. You're not going to do nothing. You're not going to jack shit. So Trump says, look, folks, if we don't get a deal in 60 days, I'm going to use the pit bull on you. And the Iranians laugh it off, and then Trump releases the grip, and the pit bull goes and gives a huge bite to the huevos of Iran, like, and now we got the pit bull sitting on the huevos of Iran, literally. Take out their entire fucking air defense system, take out their entire fucking leadership, infrastructure, oil fields, gas fields, God knows what, basically start bombing at their nuclear sites. I mean, Israel is literally right now, they've turned the sky of Iran. They can literally fly a freaking El Al jet over there and drop off passengers. There's nothing that's stopping them. So Trump is saying, let these guys duke it out, right? Let's see what happens. Let them kind of hit each other in the face until they're blue, both of them bleeding, etc., etc. But then, once they're done, we can come in and offer an off-ramp to both countries out of this mess. We can give them a deal which works based on parameters of how good the Israeli attack is. The level of success militarily of the Israelis in Iran and the level of failure of retaliation from Iran is going to determine the quality of that off-ramp Trump is going to provide for the Israelis and the Iranians. And by the way, the big win for Trump he gets to stay out of this. He doesn't get to send any troops, loss of any life, spend a single dollar. He gets to sit back and watch these guys duke it out and then come in and be the peacemaker where, he basically takes credit for the deal, which is exactly what he wants, okay? Now, here's the crazy part, okay? So he's not interested in engaging in a full-out war with Iran, right? Not because he can't win it. He obviously can wipe the floor with the Iranians. It's not the problem, right? Iran doesn't have an air force. They're a freaking joke, right? But he has a few issues. Number one, he boxed himself into a corner with the whole America First thing in his own camp. Not talking about Candace Owens or Tucker and all these guys, right? His own camp is basically saying, look, you said America First. You said we're not going to intervene in wars that are not ours, sir. So his own camp, his own base, isn't on board because they don't understand the geopolitical aspects of the importance of Iranian nukes to U.S. interests because it's complicated, right? So he has political issues. Plus, the Saudis and the UAE, one of his biggest allies in the region, they're not interested in the United States attacking Iran because the moment the U.S. attacks Iran, the first thing that's going to happen is Iran is going to retaliate and bomb the oil fields of Saudi, Aramco, which they've done before. Also, U.S. bases in the region will be impacted. They will be attacked by Iran, which just basically means more loss of life, right? And there's also the matter of questionable success. I mean, Trump doesn't believe, I think, that he can fully 100% eliminate the Iranian nuclear program, right? It's buried so deep, it's so far gone. I don't think he has certainty that he can pay all these prices and get 100% success here. So he's not sure. It's like, why would they risk all of this for a questionable result? And also, there's of course the risk of expanding this war into World War III with everybody else jumping in. It's just like, okay, there's a better way to handle this, right? So here's the thing right now, okay? So far, the Israelis get a complete A+, right? It's probably one of the most impressive military campaigns we have seen in modern history. This thing is way more impressive than the beeper stuff they've done with Hezbollah in Lebanon. This is probably one of the most logistically complex operations they've ever done. And they get a total A+. They've annihilated the air defense systems. They took out all the command chain, strategic assets, etc., etc., etc. And they're literally walking in there every day and just bombing strategic assets, right? Iran is shooting ballistic missiles over civilian population centers in Israel. They're basically bombing buildings and killing people. But it's a limited so-called success because they're not hitting anything important. It's not strategic. It's just painful for the Israelis, but nothing strategic has been hit, right? And also the Iron Dome and the Arrow system, they're basically shooting down a high percentage of these ballistic missiles. So the success is very, very, very limited. So we have a high degree of success for the Israelis and a very limited success for the Iranians so far, okay? Now, as far as the long game here, well, it's not all peachy because you see, Iran has way more ballistic missiles than the Israelis have the Arrow system, projectiles, whatever they call, right? So the Israelis are shooting, 1 or 2 arrows per each ballistic missile. Iran is shooting 50 to 150 every day. So at some point, there is a question of capacity, how many arrows the Israelis have. And at some point, the Iranians are saying, well, you're going to run out of these suckers. And then you're going to be absolutely, with your underwear, we're going to come in hot. You can't stop us once you run out of these, right? But the Israelis say, well, you know what? According to other foreign publications, how they like to say, right? There's a nuclear option here on the table. And, if that happens, and you're threatened to level us with your ballistic missiles and we have no more defenses, we're going to nuke your ass, right? So nobody wants that, right? Also, by the way, the longer this continues for Iran, the IRGC is facing civilian unrest. So the longer this chaos continues, the more they have risk of losing power. So not a winning formula here for anybody, to be honest, right? Because also, nuking Iran, probably not what the original goals of this operation was for the Israelis. So there's an interest on all sides, Trump, Iran, and the Israelis, to find a deal here. But based on what happened the past few days, the Israelis and Trump improved their leverage dramatically from what was the situation just a week ago, right? Obviously, Trump's he wants to win. He wants to dump on Biden and Obama because he's going to say, look, our deal basically says no enrichment for Iran, something that Obama and Biden couldn't do. So they're not going to enrich anything. He's going to get his win, chef's kiss, right? Iran, at this point, is literally just trying to survive. The IRGC, the Iranian regime, is trying to survive this and stay in power. Just stay in power. They want an off-ramp where they don't get humiliated completely so they can off-ramp this thing, right? They know they lost. Now they need an off-ramp, one that's not going to be too humiliating, because if it's too humiliating, they're going to lose power anyways, right? The Israelis are basically saying, look, we need a few things. Number one, you guys can't have nukes. Trump's going to take care of that with the no enrichment, no problem, right? But also, because of what they've done over the past few days, they've bought themselves a new leverage, which they didn't have. Basically, now the Israelis can say, no more ballistic missiles for you, because we've seen what you guys are doing with your ballistic missiles. You're literally firing at civilians. So no more ballistic missiles. That's a new thing that the previous deal should have never had. But now the Israelis and Trump are going to push the Iranians saying, look, you can't have ballistic missiles because you're going to basically do this again. No bueno, okay? No nukes, no ballistic missiles. Essentially, demilitarization, because Iran also doesn't have an air force to speak of. And I think the Israelis have done enough to get this done. I think that they've also done enough to deter any potential countries that thought about fucking with the Israelis with what they've done. But mainly, the biggest win for the Israelis has nothing to do with Iran. The biggest win of what happened over the past few days has nothing to do with Iran. It has to do with a completely different thing. And that thing is called, I'll see if you guys can guess, the Abraham Accords, okay? What happens with this M? Basically, the whole idea here is the Saudis have been dying to get in bed with the Israelis because the Israelis have been the local neighborhood enforcer, the pitbull. What happened is that October 7th put a monkey wrench into that. Number one, because of how bad the Israelis got embarrassed, but also because the Israelis were fighting the poor Gazans, the civilians, and all this bullshit, right? But the look wasn't good. The PR wasn't good. Now, it's an even battlefield. Israel is going up against a country that's like 10, 15 times bigger than Israel, right? So they're going up against an adversary country which literally said to them, hey, we're going to kill you and we're getting nukes to do that. So it's a completely justified preemptive attack. Even Piers Morgan said that, which is crazy, right? So now the Israelis have a moral high ground and they're winning. So that opens up the whole Abraham Accord system back because the Saudis would love to do it. So the Israelis just showed them, hey, we are now not as bad as we were a couple of days ago. Now nobody's marching against us attacking Iran because that's a fair fight, so-called fair fight, right? And also, we are kicking their ass, strategically, militarily, Air Force. We showed you we can control Iran and we can protect you from Iran, which is the biggest concern for the Saudi and the UAE. Which basically means that what happened the past few days not only cleans up Iran off the table through a Trump-driven deal, but it also opens up the Abraham Accords. Saudis will jump in. I'm predicting that by the end of this year, Israelis will be traveling to Saudi and Saudis, hopefully, to Israel. And it's going to be the same relationship that they have with the UAE. It's just a question of time because at this point, the Israelis are no longer the side piece in this story. They've become the main story. So a lot more going on. Obviously, a messy situation. But biggest winners right now are the Israelis and Trump. Biggest losers are the Iranians. We'll see how this plays out. Comment below what you think. If you want to support the channel, patreon.com/TomNashReport. These mostly are not monetized. YouTube doesn't like when I talk about politics and war. I get it, right? If you want to support the channel, want to get some extra lectures and articles and whatnot, go to Patreon. I'll see you next one. Peace.